Hi children, let's continue with our chapter carbon and its compounds. And our today's topic is types of covalent bonding. Types of covalent bonding. We have three types of covalent bonding. Let's start with the first one. Single covalent bond, or we call it as single bond. Okay, to begin with, what is covalent bonding or what is a covalent bond? In the last class we saw that the bonds which are formed by sharing electron pairs between the combining atoms is known as a covalent bond. In the last chapter you learned that a bond which is formed by transfer of electrons from a metal to a non-metal is known as ionic bond. That is transferring. One atom, metal is losing electron and non-metal is gaining electron. So their ions are formed. So that is called ionic bonding. Here there is no losing or gaining. Here only sharing. The combining atom shares electrons with other atoms to form covalent bonds, and there are three types of covalent bonds. Out of that, the first one is single covalent bond or single bond. Okay, now before explaining what a single covalent bond is, let's see the formation of hydrogen molecule. Formation of hydrogen molecule. What is the formula of hydrogen molecule? H2. Last year we have learned. This is a molecule of element. Hydrogen atom is H. Two hydrogen atoms combine and hydrogen exists as a diatomic molecule H2. We will see how hydrogen forms an H2 molecule. Two atoms of hydrogen forms a molecule of hydrogen. Two atoms of hydrogen. These are the two combining atoms. H2 hydrogen atoms. And what is the configuration of hydrogen? Electronic configuration of hydrogen is atomic number is 1. So the configuration is also 1. Which is the nearest noble gas? The nearest noble gas is helium. So hydrogen always has a tendency to get the configuration of helium. It is 2. So the tendency of hydrogen is to get one more electron, so that it attains the configuration of the nearest noble gas, that is helium. Now last chapter you have learned the electron dot structure. Isn't it? You have learned the electron dot structure where we represent only the electrons in the valence shell around the symbol of the element. So symbol of hydrogen is H. Around that we represent the valence electron only. In the case of hydrogen there is no problem. Here helium, the configuration is 2. Atomic number is 2 and the electronic configuration is also 2. So the tendency of hydrogen will be to attain the configuration of helium, that is 2. Electronic configuration 2. Now the symbol of the element H, around that we represent only the valence electron. In the case of hydrogen there is no problem because hydrogen has only one electron and that is in the valence shell. When we write the electron dot representations of other elements, other atoms, please keep in mind we do not represent the electrons in the inner shells. Only the electron in the outermost shell we represent in the electron dot structure, because all chemical reactions only the valence electrons participate. Only the valence electrons participate in all chemical reactions. So in the electron dot structure we need to represent only the valence shell electron. Valence electrons only needed to be represented in the electron dot structure. So each hydrogen atom has one electron in the valence shell. Hydrogen 1, hydrogen 2. Both of them have one electron each in the valence shell. So how can this first hydrogen atom attain stability? The first hydrogen atom can attain stability by gaining one more electron. Okay. So it takes one electron from the second hydrogen atom. So that now look around the circle. Look inside the circle of hydrogen. Inside the circle of hydrogen there are 2 electrons. Now this hydrogen atom is stable, isn't it? Now it has the configuration of helium, 2 electrons in its valence shell. Now consider the second one. It has its own 1 electron. So it has given its first 1 electron for sharing to the first hydrogen atom. So instead this hydrogen should give its electron for sharing to the second hydrogen atom. So it means that both the hydrogen atom shares 1 electron pair. Mutually 1 electron pair is shared between them. Now this electron pair, look at the central portion. This electron pair is now common for both the hydrogen atom. They cannot say that it is mine or it is mine. So it is common for both the hydrogen atoms. Now first hydrogen atom has 2 electrons, second hydrogen atom also has 2 electrons. Okay. So there is a force of attraction. Between them there is a bond. There is an agreement between both of them. So both of them have come to an agreement that they can share 1 electron pair. 1 electron pair means 2 electrons, out of which the first electron is given by this hydrogen atom and the second hydrogen is given by this hydrogen atom. So there is mutual sharing of 1 electron pair, out of which one is given by the first atom, other one is given by the second atom. So there is a force of attraction between them. There is a bond between them, which we write as, so this 1 electron pair is shared, that is represented by a bond here. There is only one bond, we call it as a single bond. 1 electron pair is shared, so there is a single bond is formed. So we write it as H, single bond H. This is read as H, single bond H. Did you understand? Now consider chlorine molecule Cl2. Now in the case of chlorine, Z atomic number is 17, electronic configuration is 287. The nearest noble gas here is argon with the configuration 288. So chlorine always tries to attain the configuration of the nearest noble gas, that is argon, 288 configuration. So how many electrons we have to represent in the electron dot structure? When you write the electron dot structure, only electrons in the valence shell need to be written. You need not write electrons in the inner shells. Only the valence electrons are to be represented in the electron dot structure. So how many chlorine atoms are there? There are 2 chlorine atoms, Cl2. So there are 2 chlorine atoms. Each chlorine atom has 7 electrons in the valence shell. Let's represent it. 7 electrons around the first chlorine atom. Now the second chlorine atom also. One more thing, children, these electrons around the combining atoms can be represented with either this cross sign or dot. Now I have used cross sign here. Instead of this cross, you can use dot also. Okay, so cross is put. How can this chlorine attain stability? Now chlorine has its own 7 electron. It needs one more electron to get the configuration of argon. 287 is there, it needs to get 288. So one more electron is needed. So it takes 1 electron from the second chlorine atom. Now count 7 plus 1, 8. The first chlorine atom is stable now. Second chlorine atom gave its 1 electron for sharing to the first chlorine atom. Now instead, first chlorine has to give its electron for sharing to the second chlorine atom. Okay. Now look around the circle. Look inside the circle of each chlorine. Both of them have 8 electrons. Both of them have attained stability. Now look at the central portion. There is 1 electron pair. 1 electron pair means 2 electrons are shared. 1 electron pair is mutually shared between the combining atoms. So there is a 1 electron pair. So joining that we write a single bond. Chlorine, single bond, chlorine. So the bond between 2 chlorine atoms in a chlorine molecule is a single bond because 1 electron pair is shared between them. This is actually mutual sharing. 2 electrons are involved. 1 pair means 2 electrons are involved. One is given by the first atom and the other is given by the second atom. It is mutual sharing. Both of them contribute equally in the sharing process and we call it as a covalent bonding. And since here only one electron pair is shared, we call it as a single covalent bond. So what's a single covalent bond? The covalent bond which is formed by sharing of one electron pair between the combining atom. It is known as single covalent bond. Okay, the bond which is formed by sharing one electron pair. One electron pair means two electrons between the combining atom is known as a single covalent bond, or we simply call it as a single bond. Cl, single bond, Cl. Hydrogen also, one more example is there, H2, that we learned already. Okay, so these two are examples of molecules where we have a single bond. I hope you understood this. Now we move on to the second type. Second type of covalent bonding, double covalent bond or double covalent bond or double bond. Let's see the example of oxygen molecule. How oxygen molecule is formed. So we have two oxygen atoms. O2 means two oxygen atom. Let's write the configuration. Oxygen has atomic number 8, configuration 2,6. Here the nearest noble gas is neon with atomic number 10, configuration 2,8. So how many electrons oxygen need to get the configuration of neon? 2 electrons. Oxygen has to gain 2 more electrons to get the configuration of neon. Please note, instead of this cross sign you can write dot also. Okay, so first oxygen atom with 6 electrons. We just write the valence electrons. In electron dot structure we always write valence electrons only. You need not represent the inner shells. So 6 electrons around the first oxygen atom, 6 electrons around the second oxygen atom. So it needs 2 more electrons for attaining stability. So draw the circle like that. Now inside this circle we have 8 electrons. Now the first oxygen atom has 8 electrons. Same way, second oxygen atom, it already has 6 electron. Now 2 more electron, so that it is also stable now with 8 electrons. Now look at the central portion and let's see how many electron pairs are shared. How many electron pairs? 2 pairs, 4 electrons are shared. So how can we write it? Joining the first pair, one bond. Joining the second pair, we put the second bond. So it is O double bond O. 2 electron pairs are shared equally, mutually between the 2 combining atoms. We call it as double covalent bond or double bond. Between the combining atoms, 2 electron pairs are equally shared. We call it as double covalent bond or double bond. So oxygen is an example. Okay. Now the third one is triple covalent bond, not bonding, triple covalent bond or triple bond. Triple covalent bond or triple bond. Example, nitrogen molecule. 2 nitrogen atoms. Nitrogen has the configuration 2, 3. Nitrogen has atomic number 7. Atomic number 7 and the configuration is 2, 5. Nearest noble gas is neon with configuration 2, 8. So it needs 3 more electrons to get the configuration of neon. 5 electrons. So you have to write 5 electrons around, because in the outermost shell we have 5 electrons. So around each nitrogen atom we represent 5 electrons. Now how can this first nitrogen atom attain stability? It already has 5 electrons. It needs 3 more electrons. So draw the circle. Now it has 8 electron. Take the second nitrogen atom. It has 5 electron. Again it shares 3 from the first nitrogen atom. So So both of them have now 8 electron each. Now let's look at the middle portion where the electron pairs are shared. How many electron pairs are shared between them? 1, 2, 3. Isn't it? 3 electron pairs or 6 electrons are shared between them. Out of the 6 electrons, 3 is contributed by the first nitrogen atom and 3 is contributed by the second nitrogen atom. That's why we call it as mutual sharing. Equal number of electrons are contributed by the combining atom. So how many bonds are there? 3 bonds. Joining the first electron pair, 1 bond. Joining the second pair, 1 bond. Joining the third electron pair, 1 bond. So we have 3 bonds. We call it as a triple covalent bond or a triple bond. Did you understand? So how is a triple covalent bond formed? By the sharing of 3 electron pairs between the combining atoms. We call it as triple covalent bond or triple bond. Okay. Now let's see. So far we discussed covalent bonding with molecules of elements H2, O2, Cl2, N2. All these are molecules of elements. Now we will see how bonding take place in some compounds. The simplest compound we will take. A few simple compounds we will see bonding in a few simple compounds. First one, methane. Methane is actually the simplest hydrocarbon, simplest organic compound. You have learned about methane. It is used as a fuel and it is the major component of natural gas and biogas. So one carbon atom and 4 hydrogen atoms are there, isn't it? So represent all the atoms, all the combining atoms like this. The configuration of carbon we saw in the beginning of this chapter. Carbon has how many valence electrons? 4 valence electrons. So represent the 4 valence electrons of carbon with cross sign. If there are different combining atoms are different, same sign shouldn't be used. Use different sign. Carbon I will use cross sign and oxygen I will use dot. Electrons are represented as dots. Electron dot structure. Electrons of hydrogen are represented with dot and electrons of carbon are represented with cross sign. Now let's take the hydrogen atoms first. Each hydrogen atom needs one more electron to attain stability. So it shares 1 electron each from the carbon atom. Now look inside the circle of all hydrogens. All of them are stable. They have attained the configuration of helium, isn't it? Now look at the central atom, carbon atom. Carbon already has 4 electrons. Its own 4 electron. It needs 4 more electrons. So carbon has given its 4 electrons for sharing to each of these hydrogen atoms. So instead they will give. In return they have to give their electron for sharing to carbon. So careful when you draw the circle like this. Now look around this carbon. Its own 4 electron, then 5, 6, 7, 8. Now all the atoms involved in this bonding process are stable. All the hydrogens are stable and the central carbon atom is also stable. Now let's draw the structure of this molecule. What is the nature of each bond that we have to see? Now between the first hydrogen and carbon, how many electron pairs are shared? 1 pair. So we write a single bond here. Here also 1 pair. So we write a single bond. Here again 1 pair. We write single bond. So all the bonds formed are single bonds. Everywhere we can see that 1 electron pair is shared. So all the bonds in methane are single bonds. Okay. Now another one, ammonia. NH3. Nitrogen and 3 hydrogen atom. 1 nitrogen atom and 3 hydrogen atom. For hydrogens I will give dot. Electrons of hydrogen are valence electrons of hydrogen are represented with dot, and that of nitrogen. Nitrogen has 5 electrons in the valence shell, 2-5 configuration. So 5 electrons are to be represented. So I represent it with cross. First make the hydrogen atoms stable by sharing one electron from the nitrogen. Now all the hydrogen atoms are stable with 2 electrons inside the cycle. I hope it clear to you. Now take nitrogen. Nitrogen already has 5 electrons, needs 3 more, which it takes from the combining hydrogen atoms. How can you draw the structure now? Look at the nature of the bond formed. So everywhere you can see that one pair of electron is shared. One electron pair, single bond. Here one electron pair, single bond. Here also one electron pair, single bond. So this is the structure of shape of ammonia molecule. Now there is a 2 electrons are not involved in bond formation for nitrogen. We call it as lone pair. This you will learn in 11th standard about this. Such electron pairs which are not involved in bond formation, they are known as lone pairs of electrons. Lone pairs and bond pairs are there. These are bond pairs which are involved in bonding. These are known as lone pairs. Okay. So that is nitrogen compound ammonia. Now the next one is water, H2. So we have oxygen, one oxygen atom and 2 hydrogen atoms, H2O, one oxygen atom and 2 hydrogen atoms. I will represent the electrons outermost 2,6 configuration for oxygen. So 6 electrons of oxygen I represent with cross sign, and 1 electron for hydrogen which I represent with dot. Okay, electrons of hydrogen are represented with dot and that of oxygen with cross sign. First let's make the hydrogen atom stable by sharing 1 electron from oxygen. So both the hydrogens have 2 electrons each and they are stable. Now oxygen already has 6 electrons, needs 2 more, 1 from this hydrogen atom and 1 from the other hydrogen. Okay, so the central oxygen atom is also stable now. Now let's write the shape. Look at the nature of the bond. Here there is a single bond. Here also 1 electron pair, so we write a single bond. So now it is in a straight line, we call it as linear shape. But actually the shape of water is not linear. Water exists as a V-shaped molecule. Actual shape, next year you will learn it. This is the actual shape of water. Though now we can write it like this, but this is the actual shape of water molecule, V-shaped molecule or angular shape of water. This is due to 2 lone pairs of electron. Lone pairs play an important role, influence the shape of the molecule. Because of 2 lone pairs, here there is a lone pair which is not involved in bond formation. Here also there is a lone pair which is not involved in bond formation. So that result in alteration in the shape of the molecule. So that is water. One more we have to learn. Carbon dioxide, CO2. Okay, carbon dioxide molecule, CO2. 1 carbon, 2 oxygen atoms. Carbon has 4 electrons in the valence shell. Oxygen has 6 electrons. Each oxygen atom has 6 electrons which we represent with dot. Now take the oxygen atom, it has 6 electrons, it needs 2 more electrons. This oxygen atom also has 6 electrons, so it shares 2 electrons from the carbon atom. Now both the oxygen atoms have 6 plus 2, 8 electrons each. Take the central carbon atom, it has 4 electrons, needs 4 more. So it will take 2, it has given 2 electrons for the first oxygen atom. So it can, oxygen instead in return should give 2 electrons for sharing. This oxygen also should give 2 electrons. Now the central carbon atom also is stable. Now the nature of the bonds. Between oxygen and carbon, 2 electron pairs are shared. So we write a double bond here. It is not single bond. 2 electron pairs, 4 electrons are shared. So double bond. Here also 2 electron pairs are shared. So it is a double bond. So this is how carbon dioxide molecule exists. On either side of carbon there is double bond. Okay, I hope you understood. how single bond, double bond and triple bond are formed in compounds or molecules of elements or molecules of compounds. That's all for today. Thank you children.